It seems like we all agree that the change is urgently needed in education. If it is already a common sense, can we develop into a common practice? To get the answer, we'd love to introduce the Portfolio Director, Ideal Design for Learning. She's going to share with us how to combine innovative design thinking with education. Let's welcome Annette Diefenthaler.
How many of you have heard of design thinking? Okay, that's probably a good half. Well, last year at an education conference somewhat similar to this, South by Southwest EDU in the US, 96% of survey participants said that they had used design thinking in a classroom or workplace. And I thought that was pretty shocking, but let me come back to that in a moment. So for those of you who might be a little less familiar with this methodology, design thinking is a creative approach to problem solving. It's a process that always starts with a human. It starts by understanding the needs of the people you're designing for, and then translates that into innovative solutions. And it also is a set of mindsets that helps activate people's creative potential. At IDEO, which is the design firm that I am a part of, we have been practicing design thinking for more than 3 decades. We've applied it to about 5,000 projects across many, many different disciplines in technology, healthcare, government, transportation, you name it. I'm pretty sure you've probably used a product at some point in your life that we might have designed. Now, increasingly so in the last 10 years, we also applied this methodology to the systemic challenges in education. I'm sure if there's one thing that we all can agree on, it is that education has many problems that require new creative solutions, and design thinking is one approach that can help us get to those. Now, let me go back to the statistic. 96% of survey participants said they'd used design thinking. The reason why I thought that was so surprising is because 5 years ago, we published a design thinking toolkit for educators, and at that time, that term seemed largely unknown in education. Now, 5 years later, there's been a humongous uptake. It seemed to resonate really strongly with educators around the world. And with the support of the WISE Foundation, we've had a chance to take a look across the sector and truly see what kind of progress we see being created through this methodology. And I want to show you some of the examples, but also talk about the kind of progress that I think we still need to achieve to go further. So let's start with a positive. Here are a few examples of how we see design thinking making impact. One, it's being used to fundamentally reimagine what school models and school systems can look like. Innova Schools in Peru is one such example. It's a school model that was created with an integrative approach that was looking at the needs of students first. What the team learned pretty quickly was that students first and foremost wanted their imagination engaged in their learning. So the entire school model, the curriculum, the learning model, the roles of the teachers, all of that is really focusing on creating an active and engaging learning experience. But what was very important was to also take into account the needs of the educators, because none of them had ever learned in that way. Peru at the time was dead last in the PISA study, still is at the very bottom of it. So educators did not have excellence to achieve that kind of high-quality, engaging experience that we were asking them to deliver. The system, therefore, is designed as a school that learns, where everybody in the building, teachers and students, learn together. And that has led to tremendous success. So Innova has grown from 5 to 41 schools in only 5 years. It has now served more than 32,000 students, and those students consistently outperform students in regular schools, and students truly love what they're experiencing. We also see design thinking being used to truly transform how educators work together, how educators start seeing themselves as agents of change in their school buildings, how administrators, teachers, and staff actually solve for school-level challenges, all of them together. An example for that is Design Tech High, which is a school in California. And what's so profound about embracing design thinking for them is that now educators feel that if there's something they don't like about their environment, they are the ones who can change it. They no longer feel like passive participants. They actually feel that they take part in creating a learning environment for everyone. And lastly, around the world, design thinking is being taught to students in many different ways, and it helps them acquire the skills of a designer. Now, we talk a lot about 21st century skills, how students have to be ready for their future, how they have to be creative. Well, here's an example of that. This is Mercy. She's from Kenya. And she participated in an innovation contest as a high school student. She came in with 2 of her classmates and a really great idea. They wanted to create a motion detector that would keep intruders from going into national parks and killing the wildlife. The idea was great to begin with, but with the coaching from an organization called the Global Minimum, they were able to take that to a new level by creating a functional prototype of that idea. Now, what's so important about that story is actually less so the prototype, but more so that what Mercy took away from it was that she now sees herself as somebody who has the capability to make a difference in her community and to truly make change. So I think those are some really promising examples, and the report contains about 20 more really excellent case studies of the kind of changes that we now see happening through this methodology. But to tell you the truth, I am far from satisfied, and that is because we have so much more work to do. We live in a time when 262 million children in primary school alone are not reading at grade level. We have to create a whole lot more excellent education systems that create access for students. We lose about 1/3 of the teachers in Canada only in the first 5 years of their profession. What if they would see themselves as creatively engaged, as being change agents in their environment? And in a recent study in the US, 3 out of 4 college graduates said that they do not feel prepared for the futures that they're walking into. We cannot afford to let our students not have the confidence that they can be part of shaping the future that they are walking into. So those are enormous challenges. Design thinking is one methodology that can help us walk towards that. But there's work that we need to do to actually take that to the next level. And here are 3 things that you can help us do in that respect. 1, we need to create more practices, guidelines that let people know what good looks like. Design thinking oftentimes resonates very easily with educators in the first place because it places a high value on empathy, right? And that comes very naturally to people who work in education. We love people. But knowing how to act on that empathy is a whole different game, and there's a rigor and a practice that's attached to it. And we need good case studies, examples, and guidelines that can help people achieve that level of practice. Secondly, we need to integrate design thinking increasingly so in teacher training. We need to make it available both at the start of people's careers as well as throughout in professional training. And lastly, to do any of the above, all the researchers amongst you, we need increased qualitative as well as quantitative studying of what works and why. We have these really powerful stories. We have really great hunches. I think we know what works, but we don't yet have enough evidence that lets us know how exactly to take that to scale. So I'm hoping that you will join us in this journey. I'm hoping that you will read our report. It's outside the door. It's also been translated into Arabic. Be part of this movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anita.